Wake up, buyer payer people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhodes on the Buy Here Pay Here morning show. Take it away, you two.
Good morning, everyone. Happy White Hat Wednesday.
Wednesday. I'm still waking up over here.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there are mornings when we wake up seriously and it's like, okay, yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's just,
Oh no, it's totally worth it. It's
yeah.
just, last night was one of those nights when I'm awake. That's happening to me. I'm starting to, my mother dealt with this for years, and now I'm starting to have these periods where I'm just awake in the night with no real
And
explanation.
so I wake up to an inbox full of shared documents.
Yeah. So,
It's like, oh, by the way, I mapped out this.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, I
Yeah.
was thinking about this last night. I'm like, dude. So apparently Jim is going to take a nap today.
I hope. I'm running on about 4 hours of sleep and caffeine this morning. So
yeah,
trying to get
and
some
we have a
more going.
flight.
Right.
We're heading out, heading to Texas, or not. Well,
By way of
actually,
Oklahoma
tonight
City,
is
yep.
Oklahoma City, and this weekend we'll be in Texas. So we're heading to the Central Time Zone, which
Right.
is nice,
I
you know,
suppose.
and extra. Well, you know, it's a mind thing, I
It is
think.
for you,
With
yeah.
it really is. When
Yeah.
you change time zones, it's like all of a sudden you're going to get more sleep, but you really don't.
It's just a different position of the sun. It's the same time of day. So
Yeah, absolutely is. We're coming up real close to TIADA. I know it is still not too late to get tickets. If you guys, those of you who live in the area that haven't signed up yet, it's a little bit easier lift for you to do than if you have to travel in from places all over the U.S. But
Right.
I do know that they have tickets. Room blocks are sold out, but if you decide you're going to come, they are probably getting some cancellations because, you know, stuff happens.
Right.
And people can't come at the last little bit. And so, yeah, we've it's been an interesting couple of days with watching stuff. Facebook is so rich with topics, for one thing.
So much stuff happening out there.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn too, by the way. LinkedIn's got some interesting topics for our segment, or
and
at least the auto
shout
segment.
out to Buy Here Payer Success, our BHPH Success, and BHPH Boardroom for broadcasting live in Facebook.
Yeah.
too.
For those that are listening in, we want to make sure you remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Yes.
That's just really important because that's where we're going to keep sharing more and more stuff.
Well, that's like, yes, subscribe and like and subscribe to the YouTube channel because we talked about last Friday the podcast that we did on Thursday on the economic climate, and I mean it's a long one.
Yeah.
And we teased it on Friday, and then got a question on Monday. It's like, because I said it was going to be done. It's like, is it done? No, but it was that afternoon, and it's up now. So with all of the different podcasts that we do, it is up first on YouTube.
Right.
And sometimes they're up before we've had them go through the engineering, the audio and all the technical engineering. So it may be there for a little while before it actually ends up on a syndicated channel. So,
she's talking about the episode on economic climate and what should Buy Here Pay Here dealers to adjust in this economic climate. We had our regular featured guest, Brent Carmichael from NCM, and then Chris Tiller from Car Financial joined us, in our hard question series. And wow, what a great subject. And
so much meat.
So it's really, you can find that one out there on YouTube. Folks have been seeing it on YouTube since Monday and downloading it on their podcast platform since Tuesday. And it's really good stuff. So if you're in the Buy Here Pay Here space, you're going to want to find time to hear what those two very seasoned experts had to share, about our industry. But on to our subject of today.
Good morning, GR Moore.
Oh, GR Moore. Yeah, I failed to acknowledge you last time you were in GR. We're glad you're here. And it's been so fun for Michelle and myself to have, dealers that we know. Bill Elizondo, good morning, with NIADA 20 groups. And so, it's been fun. And by the way, Bill, we will be in your session, I'm sure, on Monday morning. You'll be in your session right before ours. So
we'll probably have to duck out a little bit early.
But and TIADA in Austin. So we hope to see many Texas dealers there. Really looking forward to that. It's going to be a great event. We've got a really great dealer panel coming together
Mm-hmm.
on Tuesday afternoon as well. So yeah, I hope folks will attend that one as well. But yeah, so our subject today for White Hat Wednesday is honesty. So I put a Facebook poll out there, and in both the BHPH boardroom and the success group. And so I started to get the results. I just tabulated the results this morning from both groups. And so let me make sure, Michelle, maybe you can find it. We can verify that the phrasing on the question
Let me see if I can.
was.
You put it in both the boardroom and.
Yeah, I can paraphrase it. Basically, just said if.
Oh, it says, what letter grade would you give your BHPH customers' entire portfolio in terms of honesty? Further explanation intentionally withheld.
Right. So just leave it
So
there.
do you want? Can I read off what the?
Well, I've got them here.
Okay,
I've got all
got
the
'em.
results, and so.
I mean, I was going to just say these are all the options that people.
Oh
have.
yeah, please.
Yeah.
Go
So A+ was all of them tell the truth all the time.
Mhm.
So that's like really honest people. A- was nearly all of them tell the truth nearly all the time. B is most or truthful most of the time.
Mhm.
C was mixed, probably representative of the larger population. D was we had an honest customer once.
Mhm.
And F was we're still waiting for someone to be truthful.
Right. And I did get 2 votes for F. I got no votes for D.
Okay. I'm looking on boardroom and no one voted for F, but yeah.
No one voted for A+, not surprising, but I did get 4 votes for A-. We got the 2 most prominent votes were B and C. So B got a total of 11 votes, and the votes are still coming in, or responses are still coming in. This just went out yesterday, but 11 voted B or suggested B, and 21 said C. So you want to read what those said again? B was
most or truthful most of the time.
right.
So most are truthful most of the time.
Right.
And then C was probably representative of the larger population. So it's, I think that what they're saying is that, they're as truthful as any other Joe that you meet out on the street or that you associate with or whatever. They're just, they're human.
Right. And so while this is a small sampling, it's still a very real sampling. And I think the more interesting thing for Michelle and myself is that, if that's the case, and we think that's probably true based on our own experience, is that the customers are no different than the rest of the population.
Brett Buke's here.
Oh, nice. Good morning, Brett.
Good morning. Sorry.
Happy to have Brett in there. So we're seeing what you're up to, Brett. And by the way, you guys follow Brett. And he's heading into another charity event. He's got one of his fitness events that raises money for charity. Cool. So so
sorry, squirrel. Back to topic.
Keep up with hashtag Buckeye Brett. And hey, good morning, Hugo in Houston. So so I wanted to make sure that people understand that the idea of having this poll out there is that we know that folks are really in a tough spot in buy here, pay here. The consumer that we finance in this space is coming to us in a difficult spot. And so we could probably expect that in that situation, they would be more inclined to fib or stretch the truth, or maybe, embellish a little bit about their job time or their income, because again, if they're in a tough spot, and so what does a tough spot look like for these folks? Their last car broke down. If they don't get to work tomorrow on time, they could lose their job. They got to get their kids to school,
Yeah, we were talking about that this morning, just at the experience, and again, those of you who know us a little bit know that I married into buy here, pay here, and we've had the opportunity of sitting in a lot of dealerships as Jim's going through training, where he's actually the one sitting in the seat of the salesperson and going through the stuff. And it's just it was interesting for me as an outside observer to listen to, you got a Reader's Digest of their life story in like the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And it's like all the stuff.
So what happens? I mean, I think on this thing about honesty, I think I'm not surprised. Like when I hear,
Mhm.
we hear a lot of grumbling from dealers
Yeah.
saying our customers are dishonest and they, lie and
So
cheat.
is that then just a couple people, that's their perception, or is that
Well,
yeah.
it could be the perception. If you were fairly new to this business and you didn't recognize the consumer that you're trying to serve, and I think this small sampling says, are the consumers we serve are no different than anybody else, except that, we talked about in our podcast episode recently that, these folks are resilient. They're survivors.
Mhm.
They're some
Yeah,
of the
Tommy
lowest.
Brandis.
When
He's
Tommy
like,
calls them
yeah,
survivors,
survivors.
Chris from Car Financial called them resilient, and that's really
Yeah.
accurate.
Oh, and Brent was even like, I have never known people that can stretch a penny
Yeah.
further than these people. It's like, and so he actually called them good money managers. And I was like,
Yeah.
I went, huh?
First time we heard that.
And I thought, okay, from that perspective,
Mhm.
yeah,
Well, they have to do
to-
the same stuff we do, but with less.
with a lot less. Yeah.
So it's like that's a reality. But
Yeah.
on the honesty piece, I think the interesting thing about this for me, and the reason, and by the way, in our education in the institute, honesty is one of the 5 pillar topics. Like honesty and trust kind of go hand in hand for
Mhm.
me, and that is one of our pillar kind of
Concepts
or
yeah.
foundational
Mhm.
principles or concepts in
And
our
it's
training.
like we talk about it. It's both ways.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll if you'll help me remember, Michelle, we'll share the link to that particular recording. Like
yeah.
we have a little short recording inside the Institute about this subject of honesty, and we can share that link. But basically, the thing to know about that is that we should not be surprised if the customer shows up at our dealership and is being dishonest with us, is at least stretching the truth. That
Mhm.
should not surprise us. The question then becomes, is our process when we meet folks designed to get them to get honest, to come clean,
Yeah.
and understand that? So the way I used to say it as a dealer myself was that, look, if you're not being truthful with us, we may not be able to help you with financing. If you tell us all the stuff, we'll do the best we can to help you. It's just that if we discover, or if they discover, if the office discovers
Mhm.
that you're not being truthful about something, then they probably won't be able to
Yeah.
extend credit. So it's like we try to reward honesty, come clean, tell
Mhm.
us the real story, and we'll do the best we can to help, because there's not any story you're going to tell us that we haven't heard. It can involve
Right.
bankruptcy, past repos. It can involve all kinds of stuff. Now, granted, bankruptcy, we might not be able to help in the end, but there will be certain things we can't
Yeah.
help. But in reality, most customers can tell their honest story, and then we'll still proceed with financing.
Yeah. One of the things, the techniques that Jim has taught people, which I have really appreciated, like I said, novice, is that pulling the credit report, not
Mhm.
for the sake of the credit report, but for the sake of an honesty check, is
Mhm.
something that he's taught people to do. And so that you can set that expectation from the very, very beginning, because you can come in and say, hey, there's a discrepancy from what you said on your credit report. Let's talk about that. And so they know, and you actually have the opportunity to say, all right, one thing we really want here is just be honest, because we can work through
Sure.
just about anything. So
And
just
the
be really
application
honest.
process has got to be designed to do that. With our clients, we've been used to over the years doing a paper application, have
Yeah.
for many years. Now, obviously, in this digital age, we're moving, to paperless, but we still provide our clients a supplemental paper application, because it's designed to ask the stuff that the typical CRM DMS doesn't ask
Yeah.
for.
Things
Okay.
like, do you have a nickname?
Yeah.
I
or-
have always thought that was just kind of, because it's a great thing. It's if they're known as Bubba and you were to call somewhere asking for Scott,
yeah.
and they're like, there's no Scott here.
Right.
My name's Bubba.
Yeah. Or,
Yeah.
what a name are you known by? That's
Yeah.
an example.
Uh-huh.
So I got to give a shout out to Rick Reeves. So Rick Reeves is the guy and by the way, Rick is expecting to be on our broadcast next Wednesday.
Mhm.
So, for those who don't know Rick, he's definitely, a pioneer in our space, certainly in the
Mhm.
time that, I've been in the industry. He's one of the earliest people that I know that was out there teaching really fundamental buy here, pay here. Somebody recently described what he did back in the 90s as, buy here, pay here in a box. Like they created a coaching
Mhm.
solution, had software. So Rick is credited for getting lots of dealers started in lots of places across the country. And many of the dealers that we've had on the show are folks that we know from back in those days. And so it's a credit to Rick and the system and kind of, material they put together that it, was foundational in a way that there are still dealers in business, 30 plus years in business. So it's, like I said, it's a testament to that. And one of the real foundational things that Rick would talk about was this idea of honesty and, creating this trust in the relationship. Well, it shouldn't be surprising when we meet folks, they're not necessarily being honest with us. We create techniques or develop techniques in our process to help the customer to become honest about that. And of course, we've developed our own techniques over the years of, things to do to help facilitate that.
Actually, Tyler Sims just kind of piped in from something that Brett said about, but budgeting better than most. But have been conditioned to fib to overcome previous rejections. And Tyler's like, customers' first impressions of a dealer or sales associate can influence how honest they are.
Very true. So that's a good point. I think before we go into that, I would circle back to the one about, the conditions, the environment. So let's walk through a scenario. Customer shows up on your lot this afternoon. They just came from a competing buy here, pay here dealership, or maybe they were even at a, new car store, not very common, but they were at another store and they worked with the finance office, spent hours, driving cars and ultimately got turned down because, the finance department says, yeah, unfortunately, we can only help folks who, typically can only provide financing for folks who've been on their job at least 6 months, as an example, right? So should we be surprised if the customer now shows up at our lot and we ask them how long they've been on their job? Should we be surprised if they say 8 months when it's really only been 5? I mean, it's just, it's the nature of the situation. They're in a tough spot. They need help. They know that dealers, lenders, finance companies are looking for, those kind of things. Is it surprising to us? Should we be surprised that the customer is fibbing, stretching the truth in the interest of trying to get into a car? I mean, it's just that we should know that's going to happen. And because we know that's going to happen, our process has got to be designed. How do we weed through that? How do we get the customer to understand? And of course, in today's age, there's a lot of great income verification tools out there. There's ways to, if customers have a bank account, they can authorize us to get right into their bank account and verify the income. And so there's ways to do that. But there's also one of my favorite techniques is on a credit inquiry, like when you see a credit report. You've already had the customer fill out the application. So if I'm in Ohio, a dealership in Columbus, Ohio, and customer claims to have lived in Columbus for 3 years, and prior to that, they lived in, Dayton for 3 years. And now we pull up their credit report and it indicates an address from 6 months ago in Tucson, Arizona. Well, even though I know from experience, there's probably a perfectly good explanation for that, I view it as an opportunity before delivery to have a conversation with the customer and say, we have a bit of a problem. We were moving ahead. You guys, and without saying this, the customer's now been with us, an hour plus, hour and a half, and we're really close to delivery and approving the deal. But it's an opportunity to sit with the customer and say, can you guys explain? We got a bit of a problem. I went through your credit information. It looks like you've been truthful about, everything except we got this one issue. You indicated that you'd lived, in Ohio for the last 6 years, but you show an address of Tucson, Arizona from 6 months ago. Can you explain that to me?
And then I've watched Jim just put the pen down and lean back.
Yeah. So there's some
silence.
body language there, and you can say that's a charade, but it's really a very calculated technique, if you want to call it that. It's a very specific technique that we can use to get the customer to, like, oh no,
and
I'm
it's
so
never
close to
done in
getting
an
a car.
unkind way, like, you liar.
No.
It's just like, hey, we've got a problem. Can you explain this to us?
I'm prepared to try to help. And look, we work with folks with all kind of credit circumstances. It's just one of the things we require around here. We expect honesty. So I need to understand what's going on here. Like, tell me, because again, we're about to step into a 3+ year relationship with a customer. And I believe what Rick Reeves believes, which he taught, that, you start this relationship based on some level of trust. You need to start at least from a level of trust. And that goes both ways.
Mm-hmm.
We can't expect the customer to be honest with us
Mm-hmm.
if we haven't been honest with them. So I think, and this goes throughout the whole collection relationship as well. Like it's just the way trust works. Like it's not one-sided.
Yeah.
It can't be one-sided,
Yeah. And it does. I think that finding something little like that, and just having a conversation with them about it and them getting the other side of it, knowing that they can have the conversation with you
Mm-hmm.
and that, it's not going to be disastrous, but I just want to know, I just want you to be honest with me. It really sets a beautiful tone.
Right.
From the gate, about, hey, just let us know. Bill made a really great comment, and this is something that I've actually heard you say.
It's from Rick Reeves' material.
Oh, it's from Rick Reeves' material. Based on the honesty and accuracy of the information you provide to me today, along with your ability to pay, we can get you financed.
Mm-hmm.
Quote, one of the best phrases I've ever used. And I'm sorry if I sound like I'm stumbling over words, it's because I forgot to bring my glasses.
Reading glasses.
I'm old.
And you don't have any on your head. So
that's usually the first place I have to look.
Check,
so
yeah.
Yes, very much so, Bill.
Yeah. And so that's part of the thing is like you really just, and so typically like in Reeves' program, that would have been one of the first phrases you read at the top of the application when you start into an application with a customer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like setting the tone for collecting information. And so everything that we do is meant to, it should be in our process, that our sales process should lead naturally into underwriting, and underwriting and closing should lead naturally into the collections process.
Mm-hmm.
It all needs to be tied together, which means we do our collections department a tremendous disservice when we don't take the time, invest the extra 10 minutes. What's it going to take? 5 minutes to do a good honesty check with the customer, have some conversations,
Mm-hmm.
get down to some real information, and assure the customer that, look, we can overcome whatever it is that's going on that we need to talk about. It can typically be overcome, but I need to understand the real story before we step into a business relationship. Now, this is obviously aimed at those folks who are doing their own financing, doing their own servicing and collections, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when I say those things need to all tie together, then that's really important. We can make the case, obviously, if you're sending this paper off to somebody else and you got some recourse or some buyback provisions in your agreement, then you also want the same. You want the folks to be honest with whoever you're handing the paper
Mm-hmm.
over to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know that, if you're a bulk buyer, look at this, you would want the same thing of the dealer. You would want to have the application reflect the real honest truth and circumstances that the customer's in. So it just is fundamental to me. And so people will hear this and talking about paper application, you'll think this is old school stuff, Jim. This is old school. Yeah, well
fundamentals still work.
Yeah, but some would call old school. I would call fundamentals.
Yeah.
And if you ever watch a Super Bowl football game, I bet you'll see that the teams that are on the field, and probably the team that hoist the trophy, is probably one of the better teams in terms of fundamentals. You pick any sport, football, basketball, baseball, it doesn't matter. You watch that and you'll see the fundamentals. Golf, it doesn't matter. You start with the fundamentals, and you don't start with the fundamentals and graduate and then abandon the fundamentals and move on with your game. No, you stick with the fundamentals. You have to rehearse those fundamentals. You have to make sure you stay true to those fundamentals. And so that's what we're really talking about here, is this whole thing about honesty. That's why it's one of our pillars in our training. It's foundational. It's fundamental. It's always going to be part of what we do, because we're stepping into a relationship with a customer who we need to create some level of trust. It needs to be a mutual trust. And so one of the ways we do that is through having a sales process that will get a customer to tell us their real story. Right. So that's really what, today's about. And that's why we wanted to have this conversation. So the polls, we're going to continue to have fun with, throwing the polls out there and get feedback from some folks. And we're really enjoying, by the way, the feedback. Please, one of the ways that you can, make sure you find us again is through by getting over to YouTube. Subscribe to YouTube. You'll find us there. We're not seeing, by the way, comments over on the YouTube channel. We're seeing plenty in the Facebook stuff, but not so much on YouTube. But
I think there's a delay or something. I really do.
Okay.
Bill, and actually Tyler Tyler Simmons. No, it was GR Moore. Don't feel the customer, or don't
fear to ask the
sorry,
customer. You want me to read
glasses,
that one?
yes.
Don't fear to ask the customer something that you know that is not true. This can really start a good, honest relationship. So so GR knows that's part of what and I know GR and you folks, tuned in here with us today, Bill, Brett, you guys see it out there in the Facebook groups in the same way we do, where dealers are grumbling about their customers being dishonest. And I'm not saying that's not the case. Of course, customers can be dishonest, but with all those kind of things, we really always should ask ourselves, and this is something that, I've got articles out there. I can try to remember to find that and share it. It's not exactly in this context, but it's more over on the collection side. Years ago, I kind of coined the phrase like somebody messed up. Okay. And if a customer's being dishonest with us, we should really ask, okay, so something went wrong. Something broke down. The customer started lying to us. Where's the breakdown? What happened? What went wrong? Who messed up? And could we have played a role in that? I think this is a really important thing for us to think about as dealers. We always need to have the willingness to look at ourselves first and ask, did we contribute to that in any way? Is there something we did to contribute to this situation? Are they feeling that they need to lie to us because they're feeling pressure from our collection department and they're trying to avoid a repossession? Just as one example, I'm saying we should really, we need to create an environment where the customer feels like they can be honest with us, because that's going to be the basis of a very long relationship, we hope.
Yeah.
And so this is why it just becomes so important that we create that environment and make sure that we're, able to do that.
Yeah. Bill piped in and said, Rick Reeves is an amazing mentor. Honored to have worked with him. Again, he's going to be on the show next Wednesday.
Right. We've got that confirmed for next Wednesday. And so we'll share more about Rick's background. We'll give him a chance to tell some of the stories about how he got started. Tommy Brandis, who's the creator of the BHPH Success Group. Tommy and I both, we kind of met one another through the Rick Reeves kind of program. And then there are others. There are plenty out there. Gordy Tormolin is somebody who came through the Rick Reeves he came into Buy Here, Pay Here by way of the Rick Reeves program.
Yeah, it was interesting at it was at the NABD. Was it? No. Yeah, it was at NABD last year.
Right.
You did a dealer panel,
right?
And Rick was in the audience,
right.
And it was just kind of surreal, apparently to you and Tommy and Gordy, that you looked down and it's like, there's Rick, and it's like all the people on the stage were.
Yeah, all three of our panelists. And that was kind of a fluke. We had a third panelist that was not Rick Reeves, and then she was not able to participate. And so we ended up asking somebody the night before who just happened to be, I didn't even think about it at the time, it's just somebody I knew. And they joined the panel at the last minute. And so all three of them happened to be folks who came from that Rick Reeves track. And of course, we were talking about customer retention, and we're talking about dealers who've been in business 20 and 30 years. So that's a lot of the dealers that, Rick helped put in business. So we'll talk more about Rick's career and his, his involvement in Buy Here, Pay Here education and kind of doing startup packages for dealers. So we'll talk about that next week. But I know that, Rick is certainly somebody who's also going to teach this whole honesty piece of what we're talking about. It's something that becomes foundational, and it's just a really anchor. It's an important anchor in our process.
Absolutely. All right. So, if there's anything we can help you with, we're going to actually post that honesty video to this
we
thread,
put it in the
or we'll
thread.
put it in the thread, so that you guys can take a little peek at that. Just so you guys know as well, we mentioned that coming August 1st, that since the dealer track in the BHPH Institute is going to be living in the BHPH Nation, and that it will be something that once people get in for their $9 subscription, that it will be available for them for free. I went ahead last week and changed the pricing for that. So anyone that's in there currently, you'll notice in August that your subscription will only be $9. And so if anyone wants to get in there and subscribe now, it's not going to be any different in pricing than it will once we fully launch the Nation. So yeah, get in there and take a peek. There's a lot of really, really great information. We've gotten a lot of great feedback
Right.
on what's in there. And it's, we're out here to just trying to teach dealers how to be better dealers, and that's just part of it.
And so we've talked about it. We'll talk about it more later, but the BHPH Nation, whether you're a dealer, vendor, anybody in the space, we would ask you to go to bhphnation.com. All you can do currently is there's a little learn more button, or just send in your information, send your email.
And we'll let you know when
we'll
it
make
goes
sure to
live.
notify you when we go live, and we'll be working on that, continuously in the coming weeks. So it's got to be good for this industry, because we're just going to make all the stuff available there in one spot for dealers. And so it's going to be a really valuable membership platform. So again, we thank you folks for tuning in. Did we have anything else, Michelle, before we wrap up?
I'm excited to see y'all, and y'all.
Yeah,
we're going to Texas, y'all.
Uh-huh.
I'm excited to see y'all in Texas next week. And if you have enjoyed what you've heard, come and find us. We will be in the speakers lounge on Monday at 1:45.
Yeah, we're going to have to find time for two things while we're there. One is queso.
Oh,
we got to find time for queso, and then we got to find time for some
smoked old fashions. And so if anyone, when we do the smoked old fashioned, Bill has been leading the charge, and he keeps sending us pictures. It's like, darn it, I feel like we're behind. We started this dang thing.
I know. Yeah. Well, we'll catch up, Bill. Don't worry. We're going to catch up.
But we're going to have to see if there's on the resort, if someone does a smoked old fashioned, because if they do, I think it would be fun to get everybody together and do a smoked old fashioned for anyone that wants to.
If not, we're going to have to rent a bus or something.
It's a party bus. It's a smoked old fashioned party bus.
There you go. So we'll have some fun. Yeah, we're totally looking forward to Austin. We hope to see many of you there. And and again, your feedback on the morning show, we appreciate you letting us know if there's a topic you want to talk about. And we're starting to, by the way, figure out how to bring dealers to the phone conversation.
We're gonna do some tests on that, and just to see if we can get some conference call stuff coming in. So
excellent.
Yeah. All right, guys, have a great rest of your days. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you Friday from Oklahoma City.
Right.